Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially election year. And no matter what you think of US politics, there always is an epicness surrounding election night. I felt it back in 2016 and 2020. 2012, I was a little bit too young to understand, but guys, here we are, 2024, the election around 10 months, 11 months away. I'm going to be giving my official prediction here early January 2024, and I wanted to add a little bit of context to my prediction. So we are going to be taking a look at some of the polls. Obviously, this is an extremely premature prediction. You know, you could even have people on the night before the election come out with wrong predictions. So this is just something fun to do, more of an entertainment value type thing. But just taking a look at a few of the recent polls, this is just Trump versus Biden because that's what we're going to be predicting right now. Now, you can make arguments against both Trump and Biden in terms of them being the nominee, Trump getting taken off of some of these ballots in the Republican primaries. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. He's already back on the Colorado ballot. But Trump is the massive favorite in the Republican primaries. And then you do have Biden, the incumbent, really not facing much of a challenge from anyone. The Democrats actually even removing the primary process altogether. Biden will get a significant incumbent advantage, you would think, although there are massive concerns about his age. There's just not a lot of motivation, it seems, to go out and vote for a dude who can barely coherently talk as it is. And even me saying that is probably giving Biden too much credit. But either way, you can take a look at this. The current spread, Trump +2. If this is what the general election popular vote and polls looked like on election night, I think Trump would be -500 in betting odds to win. If he's maybe even, bigger, because you always think of the Republican can possibly win the election while losing the popular vote. Well, Trump is winning the popular vote here, just Trump versus Biden. When you include only Kennedy Jr., I originally thought RFK was going to significantly hurt Trump, but he only hurts him by like a point. And then you also include Cornel West, it really ends up being a wash because Cornel West is going to hurt Biden probably by about a point. So if RFK Jr. hurts Trump by a point, Cornel West hurts Biden by a point, it ends up being a complete wash. And then taking a look at the betting average, you can see Trump in the red, Biden in the dark blue. Trump enjoying about an 8-point advantage, about a 38% chance to be the president right now. Biden is at 29, so actually a 9-point advantage. You can see Nikki Haley sitting at 10% chance. That's based off of Trump's legal situation. If anything happens there, Haley is the establishment Republican choice. It would really come down to Haley versus DeSantis versus Vivek. You also do have Gavin Newsom seemingly falling back. This is very important to look at. Gavin Newsom in the light powder blue. Look at his little line there. He went up to about 12-13%. Now he's back down. It seems like at this point, unless there's something with Biden in terms of his health, the Democrats are going with Biden based off of the incumbent advantage. We will see, though. Newsom is down to 7% chance. You can see RFK independent at 4% chance. Michelle Obama, there's been really no talk of her running recently. She's not going to be doing anything you wouldn't expect. DeSantis, he's in the dark green. He got absolutely decimated here in the early election season. Kamala Harris, it's not happening with her. And then Vivek all the way down. Vivek did have a run if you look at him kind of in the teal, but he's down to 2%. But guys, let's get to the actual prediction. Trump, Biden, RFK Jr., Cornel West. Very unlikely RFK Jr. or Cornel West will win any electoral votes. So right now, this is where I normally start. Washington will be Biden's. You would figure by around 12 to 15 points. Oregon, very similar. I mean, you can make those dark. Basically, the dark blue and the dark red, I can't even do this. The dark blue and the dark red are going to be locks. I don't see any way Trump is competitive in these states. California, obviously, also going to Biden. You do have these two states down here. I'll give Trump Alaska. Alaska was kind of interesting in 2020. They took like a year to call it. They really late into the night to call that. I know the polls close really late because of its time zone, but just in general, Trump only won it by like 10 points, but Trump's not going to lose it in 2024. Hawaii going to Biden, obviously getting to these states, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, very obvious. Utah, you would expect to go to Trump. North and South Dakota, both Trump. When it comes to these districts, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to give Trump 3 of them, and then I'm going to give Biden the 1. Now, there's an argument that can be made that Trump might win all of the electoral votes in Nebraska, because Biden won I think it was the first district, or it was the one in Omaha. He won it by like 7 points, but I'm not really gonna mess with that. Does it, because it's just so hard to predict. So we're just gonna leave that as is. When it comes to Colorado, that's going to Biden. I would put it at maybe a lighter shade, though. I don't think it's 1,000,000% lock, but it's very close to a lock. New Mexico is going to Biden. We're going to come back to the swing states, Nevada and Arizona. You do have Trump taking Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. There was dialogue back in 2016 about Hillary possibly being competitive in Texas. Trump's won Texas in 2016 and 2020 by around 6 or 7 points, even with the population shift. All the liberals leaving California, coming to Texas, that's just not going to change that quickly. Maybe in 2032, liberals might have a decent chance to win Texas, but in terms of just how big Texas is in terms of its population, it's not going to happen this fast. You do have the South, so Louisiana, Trump, Arkansas, Trump, Missouri going to Trump, Iowa. I saw some recent polls in Iowa, maybe like a month ago. Trump was up by 8 or 9 points. He's winning that. You could make an argument Trump can be competitive in Minnesota. I'm going to give it to Biden, probably like with a lighter shade of red right there. Maybe I'll make this slightly lighter as well. I just don't see any way Biden wins Iowa based on the polling. Illinois goes to Biden for sure. Wisconsin, we're going to come back to. Michigan, we're going to come back to. Indiana, I don't know, man. You know what? Because Donald Trump has been so mean to Mike Pence, I think Biden is going to. I'm kidding. Indiana's going to go to Trump. Indiana's normally one of the first states they call. I don't know why this keeps zooming in. I wish it would just lock. But Kentucky to Trump, Tennessee to Trump, Mississippi to Trump, Alabama to Trump. This is where it gets a lot better for Republicans in terms of math. I'd be shocked if Republicans didn't carry Florida. We saw DeSantis win it. Yes, he was an incumbent, but he won it by 20 points. Trump won Florida by about 1.5 points and then 3 points in 2020, and that was really glossed over because obviously the whole charade with the 2020 election, the votes, they took forever to count. Nobody really talked about the fact that going into election night in 2020, Trump and Biden, it was a virtual tie in Florida, and Trump won it by 3 points, which was a sizable margin. So we were already seeing Florida shift red even back in 2020, and then the whole pandemic happens, and it becomes Florida versus California, open versus closed, DeSantis versus Newsom, and it swings Florida further to the right. I would expect Trump to win Florida by 5 or 6 points relatively easily. And the other big thing for conservatives is Ohio, because going into 2020, you were looking at Ohio and Florida both as swing states. That's not the case anymore. It's going to completely change the math for Republicans and give them a lot more paths to victory. Georgia, we're going to come back to. South Carolina, certainly I think you have to say Republican, probably by about 7 or 8 points. North Carolina, we're going to come back to. Virginia is intriguing. The Glenn Youngkin victory back in 2021, I think you have to lean Biden right now just because he easily won it in 2020. It would be a crazy swing, but I'm watching to Virginia possibly to be a swing state. We'll see, but right now I have to give it to Biden. We're going to come back to the 3 Rust Belt states that are not Ohio because I think Ohio is a clear Republican stronghold, at least right now. The other 3 are wide open. Obviously, you have New York going to Biden. Also, the thing that I'm going to do with these districts, I'm going to give Biden 2 of them, and I'm going to give Trump the other one. Kind of like what I did with Nebraska, but in reverse. And then all these dimple states, well, New Hampshire will be interesting. All these other ones go, of course, to the Democrat. Really no contest in any of those. New Hampshire's a swing state, though. So, also, I almost forgot West Virginia, just seeing if I forgot anything. So, here it is right now. Biden 222, Trump 219. Going into all of the swing states, we're going to go through this. And again, this is just an educated guess. And right now, I guess what I'll do is I'll pull up Biden's approval percentage, or at least the recent polls. It's very, very poor. It's kind of stagnated around -15 in terms of the spread, approval at around 40%. This is actually worse than Trump was going into his 4th year as the president. So this is really bad for Biden. What I'll say about Biden, though, and this is something that we've seen, a lot of us have started to make a lot of money off of the stock market and cryptocurrency, me included. And I think there's going to be a narrative where the economy gets revived. We're seeing gas, at least in my area, under $3 for the first time in 2-3 years. I would imagine Biden will improve his approval rating by at least 2 or 3 points, and also probably get slightly better in terms of polling average. Normally, there's a delay in terms of improving the economy and the polls getting better for a politician. So I am expecting Biden to get a little bit better in terms of average. Right now, it does seem like Trump does have an advantage, but we're going to go through this. And when it comes to Nevada and Arizona, I'm actually going to give Donald Trump both of these states. I always thought Arizona was more of a Republican type state. It very barely went to the Democrats. We remember back in 2020 when Fox News called it really early, and then they uncalled that whole debacle. Nevada and Arizona, I do think a Republican will win. It will not be by much. Nevada, I think a Republican might win by 5 or 6 points in 2024. Arizona's going to be a lot closer, but I also think that's going to the right. Also, Georgia. I was very surprised when Trump lost Georgia. You had the Democrats running up big-time vote totals in Fulton County, DeKalb County. I would be shocked if they won again in 2024. That is a Republican state. Who knows? They could do it, but at this point, I would heavily lean towards Trump there. Now, when it comes to the Rust, I wouldn't say heavily lean towards, but I think Trump's going to win Georgia, or any Republican's going to win Georgia in 2024. The Democrats, again, it was huge vote totals in the inner cities. They needed every single one, and they still only won by a few thousand votes. Moving on to the three Rust Belt states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So right now, how I see it is Michigan is the most liberal of these states, and I do think Biden, based on an improved economy in 2024, can take Michigan. Wisconsin, it's just so close, man. Wisconsin was decided by, I want to say, less than a point, or maybe 1.3 points, or was that Pennsylvania? I'm giving Trump both Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, but they are complete toss-ups. Based off of recent polling data, it does seem like Trump has a bit of an advantage in terms of those two states. Looking at North Carolina, so Trump won North Carolina in both 2016 and 2020, but it was a very similar small margin, about 2-point margin. So North Carolina certainly is a swing state, but based off of the recent dialogue, based off of the horrifically, historically bad approval rating, I mean, right now, if Biden has this approval rating going into the election, I don't think he will, because there's a big incentive for the Democrats to continue to improve the economy. You've got a lot of people looking good going into 2024. The stock market, the Bitcoin ETF, a lot of money's going to be made. So I think there's going to be a narrative around Biden improving the economy. But based off of how bad his approval rating is right now, it's really impossible for him to win. I mean, we have not seen a president with this horrible of an approval rating win re-election, even with the incumbent advantage. I think he has the third worst approval rating in U.S. history. Now, you can also say U.S. politics is more polarizing. People are just going to hate on the president if it's not their person. I understand that, but still, it is surprising Biden's approval rating is this bad, worse than Trump, even though Trump had 10 times more negative press coverage because 90% of the media hated him. I am going to give Trump North Carolina slightly. And then when you talk about a place like New Hampshire, I think it would slightly lean towards the Democrats and Joe Biden. So in terms of my immediate 2024 prediction, you could even change this to where, see, this is why it's so critical the Republicans now have Ohio and Florida. Trump can even afford to lose these two states and still win and still be at 280. So even if he loses Arizona and Nevada, he's still at 280. He still wins easily, but it does get a lot more, hairy when it comes to Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. He loses one of those. I guess he still wins by, imagine the election is this close. Wait, hold on. Imagine this is what happens. Oh no, I guess Trump would end up winning because of that. But either way, I think it's going to be a very close election right now. Certainly, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to say, "Oh, I'm voting for the independent. I don't like Trump or Biden." And then, of course, at the end, they end up voting for either Trump or Biden. I do think RFK Jr. slightly helps Biden, but Cornel West very likely cancels it out. RFK probably will end up getting about 7 or 8% of the vote. Right now, I know it's around 14 or 15%. But these type of things, normally how it happens is people say, "Oh, I'm voting independent, I'm voting independent." And then when the election actually comes, they end up not doing it. The Democrats, of course, will call Trump Adolf Hitler. We already know that. That's their playbook. You know, he's going to start a world war. It's literally the boy who cried wolf. They said the exact same thing in 2016. And we got the two massive wars started under Biden. I'm not saying they're 100% Biden's fault, but the idea that you're going to fearmonger people into voting for Biden because of war, when the two biggest wars we've had happened under Biden's 4 years and not Trump's, it's really an insult to Americans' intelligence. So guys, this should be a very close election, but I have Trump right now around 290 based off the polls, based off approval rating, based off of a lot of people and even independent people coming out and saying, we're sick of the establishment, Biden's an extension of Obama. Obviously, they don't like Trump because he's uncontrollable. He's very unpredictable, which can be good, and it can also be bad. But you also do have Trump. He's not going to do this thing where, oh, we have to bring in 40 billion illegals because we feel bad. Certainly, we would love to help people, but this is not a charity. We need to take care of our people first. And that is the dialogue I see Trump using in 2024. The immigration issue, it's a big problem for Biden. You take a look at the numbers. They are absolutely record-breaking, absolutely out of control. And even a lot of independents are admitting that it is completely ridiculous that this is happening. Even liberals in Chicago are saying, what's going on? We're a sanctuary city. You're helping the illegals over your own community who's in poverty. It'll be interesting to follow. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.